At number 4 in the life and times of Nathan Hoghedge, searching with Tom Curran at the tender age of 13 years old, mate. Tell us how that transpired.
I just remember coming home from school and my dad said, "Look, we've got a call from Derek Hind," and
Oh, that's normal.
Yeah, that was DH calls.
How'd that convo go down?
I could see just a look of Dad's face. It was going to be good news. And they're like, "They want you to go on a boat trip, search trip." And yeah, they said they want you to go on a search trip up in the Ments, and you're going to have to take some. We're going to have to go into school and see if they're going to allow it, talk to your teachers and see if we can get some homework. It's going to be a 28-day trip.
Oh, 28 days.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
That's like a fair percentage of your life when you're 13.
I know. It was like the bottom of the chain, the Ments right up to the Bunda Arche, and the deal was that, I was the grommet, and I'd go in with Martin Daly on the tender, and I'd go in and try and find these waves and surf these waves, because it was just pioneering. It was uncharted area. We had the go-to spots of like Lancers and HTs around the Maccas and other spots, all the known spots, but it was only one boat. There was none like, oh, let's go this spot, that's going to be uncrowded. It was one boat. So we're just surfing on our own. The kids coming out from the villages hadn't seen surfing, and Sonny Miller days. It was just we were the first. I'm sure there was other boat trips up there early around that time. I know Quick were doing stuff as well. But when I was there, that first boat trip, I didn't see any other boats. We'd sitting at Macca's, just us.
Wow.
No one else.
And as a 13-year-old, you're a 13-year-old from Australia, this, relatively comfortable white country, and then you're dealing with like 13-year-old villagers coming out of, who are from abject poverty or village life. Like, what sort of an impression did that leave on you?
I think just, I guess I run off the other guys like Sonny and that, how they interacted, and documenting it and seeing how they went about interacting with different cultures. And
Have you ever heard of the Search Boys? Search Boys. No?
I guess just a real gratitude for what we had in Australia and how we got to live, and just clean water and just all that stuff.
What an impression. I mean, to have experiences like that and then try and reintegrate into society, even as an adult, that would have been difficult. But as a child, I mean, as a teenager, I can't even imagine the...
Oh man, yeah. I mean, there's
the mental process.
There's the impact of that, but then there's the impact of what's going on off the boat, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the kids coming out of the bushes and the dunes and coming out surfing different planks and pieces of wood was incredible. It was more kind of the hardcore stuff was on the boat, and I was the grommet and my duties and that side of things.
So you're on boats with. I'm just trying to think back to those earlier films. So it's Frankie O and Tom Curran, Davo on a couple
Frankie
of those.
O, Davo, Tom Curran, Powley.
Powley? Oh, goodness me.
Powley was the man.
Wow, I mean, you've really got some
Yeah.
go at it personalities there.
I grew up pretty quick, put it that way.
Yeah. We've had Taj on talking about, a Quicksilver trip that he did. I think it was around about the same, 28 days.
Yeah.
Up there with Ross Clark-Jones, Tom Carroll.
There you go.
And a couple of those boys. And, he said it made him the man who he is, but it was terrifying when he was there. Did you have any sort of feelings of, fuck, am I ready for this? Or were you just 100%, this is what I'm meant to be doing and this is me? Like, did you have any insecurities or just...
No, I was
fears at that
pretty
point?
into it. I was knocking about with Davo pretty early on, so it was just like another step up with hanging out with Davo.
Yeah, right.
It was.
You kind of had a big brother on the trips with you, right?
Yeah, he was pretty gnarly, Davo. From like 13 to 15, those couple of years, and so it was just like a longer trip with that. But I just dove straight into it, and I enjoyed it and embraced it, and I felt pretty confident as a kid, and I never really, it was just, it was all good.
And what about your memories of the trip? I guess let's start first with just the waves, like any iconic sessions. I imagine there was a couple at least.
I just remember empty Maccas, like just come from Narrabeen and just surfing macaronis, just a fun park. We didn't know about Greenbush at that time, so that was never... We had a couple of really big swells, a really big swell at Lancers, the right, HTs you want to call it. I had cracked my head open and couldn't surf, so...
Jeez, how'd like not a fractured skull, just a split?
Oh, it was pretty bad.
Really?
I can't remember how many stitches I got up here, but I couldn't surf out of the water for a bit. So it was at the end of the trip, thank God. But yeah, I just remember Davo and a couple of boys getting big lances right. It was pretty mental. But the thing I remember the most was just probably like doing the recons with Martin. Like, I think I named a break or two. I can't remember now, but just going in on the boat and the mothership, the Indies would stay out the back and just keep on course, and we'd just be going in with the tender and some tinnies and freaking
Fuck, yes.
fishing and just sort of come back out and like just hope for the best. And
It's a lot of trust, isn't it? Putting your 13-year-old
Yeah.
kid in the care of a ex-salvage diver lunatic.
yeah, it was just
One of the
Mate,
all-time.
Davo and Powley's bad enough.
yeah, that was it.
just as role models at that particular time in their careers. I mean, Davo just had an energy, a confidence, an arrogance about him that was just out of this world for a kid who was like you say, 13 to 15. He was probably the number one surfer his age in the world.
Absolutely. I mean,
and he knew it.
yeah.
He knew it. He'd paddle out, mate, and he'd just stink eye every fucking person in the lineup. Doesn't matter who it was.
Yeah.
And just tear the place to fucking smithereens.
I mean, that between him and Powley, like that, once, it was game on, we hit the water. Like, we talk about some of the, stuff that went on around the edges on the boat and whatever, but in the water, like to surf with, I mean, that same energy, that same passion, the same mongrel, all of that was what, just drove me to get to be where I was, having the talent and that fire and just not soft, like just fucking gnarly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Curran's a different beast. He's got a different energy altogether. How did he factor into that dynamic?
He was kind of like still, I didn't like the Aussie guys. I had a little bit more access to, like growing up in Louis and Ock and Tom and Duma. Like I sort of had a little bit more to do with them, just being Aussie and sort of looking up to them and stuff. Whereas Tom was a little bit further away. But I remember Greg Clough from Aloha designed some boards for Tom, and early days he got me to bring the boards on the trip for Tom to ride. And so that's what kind of gave me, I had a little bit of interaction with him, just sort of opened up the door to interact with Tom. And I just remember him being pretty elusive, a little bit mystical, and he'd just kind of pop up in the right spot at the right time, and then he'd disappear too. You just wouldn't see him. It'd be the best time of the day, and he'd just disappear for a couple of hours. Where's Tom? And then that went right through onto like, the Rip Curl House in Hawaii, like 15 years later, he would just come in from a backdoor session and come in and turn the turkey over around Thanksgiving time. He'd come in, baste the turkey, go back out. And it's just, but always really nice to me and super welcoming. And, when I was underage, he would let me borrow his hire car, for example. He'd just let me take the hire car wherever we were. Like I didn't have my license. He'd just say, take the car. And
Fuck,
just
mate.
whatever,
I love, hearing you discuss sort of the influence of these guys that you had access to and basically became your travelling family. Your guy feeds on energy, so I get that, being around the Powleys and the Davos, and that really speaks to you. But did you ever get words of wisdom? Did you ever have like mentors who'd sit you down and give you stuff that really stuck with you?
I think they probably tried, but I just... I mean, my dad was probably my closest mentor and the one I listened to the most.
Great bloke, mate. Yeah. R.I.P. Greggy.
Yeah,
I used to
exactly.
love catching up with him in the car
Yeah,
park, man. We
for
all had
sure.
such good chats.
Yeah.
Really positive bloke. Always out for the best. Love
Yeah.
Narrabeen. Loved
Yeah.
you more than anything
Yeah.
on the planet, of course. And
For sure.
yeah, that's miss him a lot. He's a great bloke.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I mean, Duma Hardman, like
Yeah.
competitive-wise, definitely helped him with some of that stuff. Absolutely, like through the Pro Juniors and even BL too, Barton. They definitely mentored me through a lot of that stuff, definitely. But I think just being on the search and surfing those waves and being around those guys from 13 to 18, that's kind of where my schooling came from as far as riding waves and how to go about.
Doesn't get much better, does
Mate,
it?
to have access to that
was the
echelon of
college
pro
right
surfing.
there. It was just immersed in it. And
Bizarre. It's out of control.
making films with Sonny Miller, you'd make one film a year. You'd have all these destinations, and something would come out at the end, and so it was like premiere night. It was like like the magazines. You'd ride to the news agent and wait and see what was going on in there, and it was just so much anticipation and froth and like excitement and what was going to come.
Yeah.
And so that was a whole year of doing the search movie. So it was about fronting up and just having an epic clip and doing some crazy surfing, whether it be WA over to Indo to Maldives, to finish in Hawaii and wherever it's in Africa in the middle, wherever it might be, you know. So you'd shoot for a whole year, and you get to ride different waves, and each guy would sort of take you to their special spot. You know, Frankie'd show you special spots in Africa, and Poncho's getting around the east side or whatever side in Hawaii. And by the time, you know, collectively over a whole year, you're surfing, you know, all the different boards you're trying, all the different influences, far out. I mean, you're coming out the other side surfing a lot better.
Yeah,
What
I
a
bet.
life. What a life.
It's crazy because to me, you're you know, a really contemporary surfer. You surf at such a high level now, but you know, back in those days, surfing was so small. Like you were going to, you know, like you said, Indo had barely been discovered at this point. It's insane to think that you were still in your peak able to enjoy a period of surfing where there's still fuck all people doing it.
Yeah, it was
Golden age, really.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can just really appreciate that it wasn't as instantaneous, and you know, the guys had to swim out with their 32 shots on the film and get the shot and come back in and reload, and you know what I'm saying? It was,
Yeah.
It's changed so much.
I
in
used to
such
get a lot
short
of.
amount of time.
Well, when I was running the mag, Smithy, you know, as soon as that digital era hit, mate, some of the old boys just were really upset because it went from being like a 1 in a 1% skill set. You know what I mean? Like the amount of commitment,
cream of
skill,
the crop,
time you had to put into not just photography but swimming and, you know, understanding waves. So you had to be as good as the surfers at reading the ocean. And I mean, guys are shooting incredible stuff now, and we know that, you know, those guys still exist. But the amount of it just flooded the market, and it really sort of it pushed a lot of really, you know, talented, legendary lensmen to the brink, and a lot of them quit because of it. The fact that Sonny Miller, RIP of course, but these guys were the top of their game in the last great days of surf film and surf photography, I think.
Yeah, crazy to get an insight into that period, man. You were just young enough to see it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we get into a bit of mongrel?
Yeah, what do you got?
Well, I don't know. What do you got?
Well, I got a bit.
We'll come.